2, 1. Okay.
Hello, everybody.
Why? What the hell is that voice? I'm
I
very
don't
glad
know.
no one heard that.
Def-
No one had started
well,
watching yet.
maybe I'll keep it in the beginning of
Why?
me. Oh,
That
I don't
was
know.
creepy. No one likes that.
Oh,
Oh, see,
sorry.
now you're utilizing this too.
Yeah, so
See?
I'm just
Yeah, but
using
when
the
you were in the
armrest.
big chair, you never let me use the armrest.
Yeah, well, these are different times. So,
Okay, so what's happening in these different
what's
times?
happening today?
Oh,
I
wait, do we
think
have any sponsors?
I did.
Did you come
No,
up with any
I
stupid sponsors today?
No, I wanted to we've been doing well on the Instagram thing. I wanted to thank people like TX Chondros,
Mm-hmm.
Mark. So I guess shout out
Who else? Whoever else has reposted your pictures
and Small
and
Snakes
not put
and some
a
other people and everyone who
mm,
gives perfect attribution.
and
Is that the word? figured out what I really, really liked.
Which is corn snakes.
Which
Clearly.
is, I mean, it was going to be like,
Oh,
no matter what, I'm going to keep
sorry, YouTube.
the corn snakes. So I'm going to keep corn snakes pretty much no matter what. And then also it says that it has sound.
I know.
So I'm going to keep corn snakes no matter what. Well, I'm going to keep Tony and that Anery girl that I had forever. You know, those are just snakes that I've kept for long enough to where I'm going to pretty much do, I'm going to keep them no matter what, because I've just had them for so long that
well, Tony, you've had for 14 years, so you're definitely
So it's like, am I just gonna like get rid of an animal? Oh no, it's good.
Yeah, I had
so
unmuted.
am I going to get rid of an animal that I've put 14 years into or kept for 14? Like, no matter what, if you're not emotional about animals, still when you had it for 14 years, you don't really want to
get part with it.
Yeah. And then like Tattoo Highway said, ball pythons are boring.
Not for everyone. Some people don't view ball pythons as boring.
I think some people think that it's nice to hold a snake that doesn't move at all.
Mm-hmm.
They think that's a very handleable snake.
Right.
But to me, that's just really not exciting.
But that's separate from breeding. That's the pet thing. You said breeding ball pythons got boring for you. So, I mean, I feel like in my head, those two things aren't connected.
Well, they kind of go hand in hand, just because I didn't think the whole animal was. I mean, when I come out with babies, it's like all they do is just roll into a ball or bite you. There's no.
But it's not like you play with your ones you have now. So why does that matter?
True. It's just there's nothing going on up there. There's nothing happening.
They're too dumb for you. Is that what
they don't. They just don't really do anything. So it's like really not as much fun.
So you're attracted to intelligence?
I mean, in my snakes.
Shut the fuck up. You knew I was going there with that.
Yeah, but so like, I don't know. And also it was having like byproduct is what they call it, having like normal ball pythons and no one gives a fuck. And it's like you have to sell them for $10 and then you just get into a bunch of shady territory with that.
But what about like normal corn snakes?
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of the same way. But I mean, I can sell a corn snake with confidence to almost anyone. I can't sell a ball python with confidence to almost anyone. Just because I can say, hey, if a person comes in, they say, I have a 10-gallon tank.
Mm-hmm.
And all right, I'm going to buy your ball python. Then I'm going to say, well, if you're going to do it that way, you're going to have to do this, this, and this. You're going to have to keep the humidity in there. You can't have that screen top.
It's very specific.
You can't keep it with your other fucking ball python. And it's a whole thing. With the corn snake, it's like, yeah, just get it its own enclosure, give it a little hide, put some aspen in there, do whatever, have a water bowl, and it will eat all the time.
So you have more faith in giving it to someone you might not know.
It's so much easier to keep.
Mm-hmm.
And then it won't be someone calls you in a week, hey, this isn't eating as a good burp. And then like, had to go through that whole thing and explain to them, how to, because the way that they're keeping may make it not eat.
Mm-hmm.
And so you have to go through the whole thing, how to keep it. And then also maybe you want to feed live, maybe you want to do whatever, but with corn snakes, they eat all the time, and you can keep them pretty damn easily. Mm-hmm. Even if you're keeping them at room temperature in a fucking 10-gallon tank, they'll eat pretty much, and they'll survive.
So you can just trust you can trust that
the person that the snake will
stay alive.
Do what it's got to do.
He said, I love my ball python. They're great to have if you're only trying to own one snake. I completely agree with that.
And it's great to have if you're only trying to own one species also. So,
right. And if
you want to keep your ambient temperature up 75 degrees or 80 degrees, and then keep a rack and then keep proper humidity, then that's, perfect.
If you're willing to do that. Right. But not everyone is willing to do that.
It's hard when you are like, well, I'm going to have a corn snake, a bearded dragon, a ball python, and a fucking bearded dragon. I already said bearded dragon, but like, yeah, it's like people try to do, the same thing.
But if
or
you're
try
just
to do the same thing for a bunch of different species that are from a lot of
I
different places.
agree.
That goes for almost any snake.
And I think if you're not trying to breed, like ball pythons are better. Like I'm okay with them sitting in a ball and you get to see cool stuff because I like just looking at their colors and looking at the mutations. And obviously,
but I like a jungle that's going to move around the enclosure a little bit, and then when I take it out, it's gonna interact more.
Yeah, that doesn't do it for me. I mean, it does it for me. I like it, but maybe because my fear level is also a little bit higher than yours.
I mean, yeah, you gotta know what you're doing. Also, I mean, the ball pythons are definitely your likelihood of getting bit is fairly low, or at least lower than most of the other species out there.
My only downside to ball pythons is live feeding. I'm not trying to ever do that ever.
Yeah.
And it's like if you're just trying to keep one pet, I don't know. Is it easy to buy live rats? Is that easy?
Yeah, I mean, and that also goes to one animal. If you're gonna, you need to be somewhere. You can't go to a breeder and say, "Hey, I need one live rat," and go to a breeder and then give them $1.
I thought you could do that.
I mean, or you go to a pet store and pay $3, but it's
Your
gonna
burps
behoove you to have a large amount of ball pythons. So you're like, oh, give me 100 live rats.
So how does that work? Just let it out. Let that burp out. How does it work when you just have one ball python and you just
go to the pet store and get one for $3.
Pay overpriced.
$150. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I guess you're willing to do that if you only have one, you're not spending money on a bunch
I just like
stuff.
to have things that eat frozen thawed. As far as like if my jungles would eat every day if I gave it to them. But
have you ever made mistakes in like the defrosting or whatever process with your frozen thawed?
Yeah, I think I mentioned it a little bit before. I mean, I have done it way too much, way too hot for pinkies when force feeding them, so they explode in your hand.
Oh, we may have talked about that. Yeah, you're right.
So that's the mistake, doing it too hot. And then for the pythons, obviously you need a good heat signature. You need a little bit warmer when you're giving it to them. But colubrids, I mean, they can be a little bit, as long as they're defrosted, they'll pretty much eat it. They don't need a good heat signature on it.
He said, I usually buy feeder mice from the pet store. Yeah. But he's going to switch to frozen soon. But didn't you say ball pythons?
Well, you can switch over. It will just take a certain amount of time. Or once you get, I had some ball pythons that go frozen like right off the bat.
Really? Okay.
Yeah,
I feel like a lot of people I've watched on like YouTube and stuff, if they have ball pythons, they're feeding them live. And I just assumed because that's what they had to do.
No, not always. And I mean, it's definitely easier if you breed your own rodents to feed them live because they'll eat more often. But I mean, obviously you got to check on them after you throw the rat in there. You can't just leave them with the rat. But yeah, I mean, switching to frozen, it can be, it's not the worst thing, but if you have a corn snake, it eats frozen right out the bat.
Did all your easier? I think you just said it, but I can't remember. Did all your ball pythons were you able to switch?
Most of them, and then some of them I would breed them. So like I had a female pastel eat frozen thawed, and then I would breed her, and then she decided she only wants to have live now. So they would change sometimes when after they bred and stuff like that.
Really? So you just got to stay
went through a full cycle.
Sorry, someone else just said they can't hear on YouTube.
Hopefully you
can before they said it was good. I don't know what the fuck's going on YouTube.
Tattoo Highway said squishing the head of a warm frozen thawed helps entice them to switch. I had to do that for my milk snake. Yeah, I've done the braining before. I basically like cut with a scissor halfway through so you break the skull, and then you have a little bit of that good. For whatever reason, that must smell really good to a snake because they'll eat after you break the skull.
They like
and they have like some brains coming out. At least for ball pythons, I found that. He said he did it with his milk snake, but
have you ever had a milk snake?
No, I haven't had a milk snake. I'd like a milk snake.
Why haven't you ever had a milk snake?
I don't know. I just never did. I mean, just like they're just a little bit more.
Oh, yeah, you said they heard that word. Okay. So something's going on at the end. Sorry. Explain your milk snake belief.
Oh, nothing. I wanted a milk snake for the longest time. It's just I just never got around to getting one.
I feel like when we go to shows, they're not calling out to you.
I'm always looking at them, but I feel like no one buys them, which kind of scares me.
Right.
But
I feel like you don't hear them. You don't hear about them as much as other ones.
yeah, and I don't know why, because there's obviously a lot of good color phases and a lot of good colors that they come in, and whether it's albino or, you know, the tangerines or the hypos, I think look really cool. I think all of them look really cool. It just doesn't seem to be catching people's attention.
But why? I don't know. It's just weird.
They've just always been around. It's just always kind of a pet, you know.
But not for breeders. Breeders aren't really into them.
I don't know. No one's really. I mean, there's obviously a certain subsector
of people,
people, but yeah, it's much smaller than just going to, because if you look at, like, I was paying attention at the what show was that? NARBC at Arlington, and I was like, because I want to know when I buy something that people are going to want it as well. I don't want to breed anything that people don't want. And I would say, like, oh, that's like an adult female milk snake, like albino milk snake. Like, I like it, but let's see when I go around if it's still available. Like, it's a good price, everything. And then also, like, Triple L had a shit ton of milk snakes. And it's like, I just want to look to see if they sell.
Right. Because if Triple L can't sell it, you're not going to be able to sell it.
Yeah, and just if people in general, if people are looking for a pet as a snake and they're not going to buy that, then
you're not going to be able to.
Yeah, then I'm not going to be able to sell it.
Tattoo How I said they stay burrowed a lot.
I mean, as most snakes, if you're going to want a snake to display, I would say
green trees.
Green trees, yeah. I mean, if you can take care of a green tree, then just buy a green tree and it'll always be out there on the branch.
Do you feel like people need some sort of previous experience before getting a green tree?
Yes, or just go, you know, as far as you can to research. And then if a green tree is your first snake, but you're dedicated to keeping it and you ask all the right questions, you ask all the right people, then that's fine. But then again, if it is just a buy that you make on the weekend at the reptile show just because you saw it, you thought it looked cool, then that may not be the best choice, because there's obviously special requirements that go into it.
Right. It's not a window shopping animal.
No, not really. But I mean, if you go through, I mean, they're not that hard to keep, realistically. There's just a lot of bad information. Just
also comparative to others.
Right. And then Maya asked, are you going to make a website? I do have a website. That shows you how good it is.
I didn't know you had a website. I didn't even know you had a website.
Theportcitypythons.com.
What's on that website?
Just fucking some pictures and stuff.
So, when's the last time you updated that website?
It's been a long time, but I don't have anything to sell or anything to say, really. Oh, true. I should probably put the podcast here from Australia. Hey, what's up, Scott? Can you hear us? I guess that's
no. I think it was just your mom who couldn't hear. I think your mom just on YouTube. So are you trying to sell next year? Like you just said, you could have bred your jungles this year, but you didn't. Yeah. Are you gonna breed your jungles next year?
Yeah. I mean, I'll breed quite a few things next year. So next year, I think will be a pretty big year. I don't know. It's weird because like I had all breeding size animals and like was going to produce a lot the year before I left New York, but
then shit changed.
Yeah, shit changed. And also, you know, when you're moving and stuff, you never know what's going to happen. I mean, for the snakes, you don't want to move. It makes breeding a little bit more difficult. I mean, if you're just moving locally and you put them, how I see it, if I can move like I'm just going to a show, then that would be fine. Like if I just put them in.
What's the prep work for that for shows? Like what? Like obviously most people who are vending at shows are breeders, so they're keeping their snakes in racks and tubs. So what is the process from the racks and tubs to shows? What's the prep work?
What do you mean exactly? So like it depends on the species. So for colubras, what makes it easy is I can make a deli cup display. I can put all the snakes in deli cups and just bring them in a cooler if I wanted to. And
put them out. So you just like put them on ice or
put them on ice?
No, that's not what I meant. You put them just in like a regular
you
cooler.
Put them on
Shut
ice
up.
so
That was a dumb
slow down
question.
real quick.
But you pack them in a cooler and you can just drive them. Your car doesn't have to be a special temperature or whatever. Just because
I mean, I would just like snakes anywhere, man. I would try to keep them at a decent room temperature at 70 degrees.
That was just making me think of.
I just want them to be at least room temperature. I mean, that's what the show's gonna be. You know, it's gonna be 70 degrees in there, so you want to be at least room temperature.
Right. Do you believe in having any sort of bedding that people need that for shows, or is it just not really necessary?
It all depends what you want to do as far as your branding goes, and you know how you want to.
Would you put them on any bedding in there?
Yeah, I mean, I liked the way Walter put the coffee strainer in the deli cup.
Okay.
Maybe I would do that just to make a consistent background. It would also absorb some stuff. Sometimes you put like forget what that paper bedding is, but you can put that in there. But I don't want, like, the snakes are going to burrow immediately, so I want the snakes to be visible. So that coffee strainer thing might be a good idea.
Does he wet that?
No.
Oh, okay.
I mean, if you're thinking about it, you're keeping your snakes a little bit cooler than you usually would. So cold and wet is like the worst possible situation to put them in.
Never mind.
So if you're going to keep them a little bit cooler, at least keep them dry. Cool and wet is just a bad situation for most snakes.
Okay. Sorry. Couple of questions. Someone said, what do you recommend? What snake do you recommend me getting?
If it's your first snake, then I would say a corn snake. Or if it's your first snake, maybe a ball python, or, you know, there's plenty.
And
or
don't buy it
snake.
from PetSmart or Petco.
Yeah, I mean, buy it from just your local breeder. Wherever you are, there's a local breeder. And snakes do. She also asked if snakes pee.
Yes.
Snakes, it's kind of, if you've ever seen a bird, like birds, they actually go to the bathroom. It's urates and
it's thick.
The poop at the same time. So they don't like just pee out, like just liquid straight. Right. And for the most part, it's going to be like a mixture of urates and poop and
it
all
smells
stuff.
really
be
bad.
White and then also some.
It's brown.
Yeah.
It's not pretty.
So yeah, I mean, but you're gonna see when they do, so it's easily cleaned up.
But with any animal, you know, they poop. You got to clean it up. You got to deal with it.
Yeah. Or get a gaboon viper. Yes. So
what do they do? What's their bathroom policy? He said that should be her first. Yeah. No, definitely not.
Obviously being facetious. But and then also Hillbilly Herper said, how much does a table cost to set up? I mean, it all depends
on the show.
Yeah.
So the biggest show is Tinley in Chicago. There's 2 times.
I forget how much.
There's October and there's March. October is the biggest because it is the time when,
for the most part, it's the time that most breeders have more stock. So just because the way breeding season works, you're gonna have snakes breeding in the winter. Babies coming out in the spring and the summer. So October is going to be a much better time than March
to go to the show.
The March Tinley is going to be from
the previous season,
right?
But you don't remember how much it was?
No, I would say
over 200.
Yeah.
Whoa.
I think for an end cap is like $400 or something. I'm not sure. I mean, I think these local shows are like $100.
Okay. And
it's really
they don't
cheap.
And they don't provide anything but a table. Bring everything else yourself.
Well, what you want to do is you want to get like your tablecloth or something to put over it. Get obviously your sign to put up, whether it's in front of your table or PVCs, above. And then
obviously
glass.
Prime spots?
I mean, there's end caps which you're going to pay more for.
Really?
Tinley. So Tinley's like set up like a bunch of different rows. So you have to go down each row if you want to see everyone. So some of those people in the middle kind of get left out.
Lost in it.
So those end caps are pretty important and they get the most eyes.
Damn. So like how much more? Like $50?
Yeah, a decent amount.
Huh. And then also at Tinley, the cool thing is you can be a VIP. Well, as far as someone attending can be a VIP and go see the setup. And you
can go the Friday before it opens
and see everyone like putting their things out and everything.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's probably like the most important thing to do is if you're going to buy a snake, make sure you get first pick of all of them so you get the best snake for the best price.
So definitely, I recommend people, even if it's your first snake or whatever level you are, going to shows in your area, just to see what's around and see what you really want.
I mean, there's like, yeah, you want to see, and then also you can go to a pet store or whatever and hold an animal before.
Oh, well, yeah.
You know, and then also research on how easy it is to keep, what you have to do to keep, you know, where you live, if it makes it easy to keep that animal.
True, because obviously not all animals work well in every climate and everything. So it definitely depends on where you live.
And then, I mean, some just the ambient temperature that you have to keep to, you know, to keep certain animals is just going to be too high. So, I mean, something like a corn snake is going to have just room temperature, ambient temperature, or something like a crested gecko. If you just want any type of reptile, I mean, a crested gecko.
I feel like crested geckos are so big right now. Like every time I'm on Instagram, I feel like crested geckos are everywhere.
They are, and they have been for like a little bit now, but there's not really any type of market built into it because they're just animals that you keep them at room temperature. So they're super easy to keep. You feed them like this mix that you can buy from the store. So you can buy either Rapashi, or I forget what the other gecko diet's called, but it's by that big gecko company. I can't think. But so you can buy one of those, and all you do is, you know, put that in water and then give it right to the crested gecko, and then they'll eat it right like that. Like you don't have to deal with any live animals. Pangea is what the company is that makes that reptile diet. And then you just mix that up, and then you can keep, you know, one male, 3 females in a tub, and then all of a sudden you get eggs randomly
because they just do it in the middle of the night.
Yeah. So they're the easiest to keep, easiest to breed, everything like that. I mean, you're not going to have a market that has mutations, stuff like that.
I was about to ask the variety
pops out. I mean, like it all just pops out differently.
However, what you get, what
Dalmatian, you get. Yeah, I mean, and there's different looks that you can buy. So there's like Dalmatian, which will have like a tan background with some like creamy background with some black spots, or I forget what those other ones are called that are brown and kind of red up the side. And there's all different names for these things, but they're all kind of random, and none of them are like mutations. They don't work like mutations. They just kind of
happen.
Yeah. So,
but as far as ease, it seems easier.
Yeah.
So that's why people.
Mine said her parents wanted me to get a boa constrictor. I mean, that's not a bad thing to get. I don't know. Are you in the United States? Because, I mean, a boa is definitely something that's pretty easy to keep. And yeah, the pinstripe fit is like one of those mutations that I believe is where the line are going up the side on the crested gecko. But yeah, I mean, boas aren't a bad first snake to have.
Really?
I mean, it's not your best choice because you're gonna be working with a little bit bigger of an animal.
Right. That's what I'm thinking of, how big they get. Like, yeah, I guess it just depends on what you're comfortable with as far as size, as far as what you're willing to feed them.
Yeah.
You know, like maybe she's not trying to do
potential of having something that's a little bit more food aggressive, stuff like that goes up if you have a boa. So
I mean, so you're saying not totally against it, but it's not the best first.
Yeah, you also gotta keep, just like a ball python, you gotta keep good humidity.
She said she's in the UK.
Yeah, I mean, a Sambo is awesome. I wasn't thinking about that, but yeah, Sambo is really cool because it stays a small size and it's relatively easy to keep. And then also, I mean, you don't have to worry about humidity because they like lower humidity. So you keep, you know, a small water bowl so there's not too much humidity, and then just aspen or something like that, so that they can burrow and feel comfortable. And then
how big do they get?
Probably about 2 to 3 feet.
Oh, so not bad at all.
And they're like a weird, just
are they fat
loaf of bread. They're not like a boa constrictor that's going to climb all over you and be very pliable. And then also, like, if you have an aggressive sand boa, I mean, it's not really a big deal. They're not big. They don't have very big mouths. They're just not very aggressive.
Okay.
So for something, I think that's a pretty good first pet. It's not what you see often as a first pet or as pets in general.
Is it? Because I feel like it's not as big here, compared
It's
to
not as big anywhere,
right to ball pythons, or all
anything
those.
like that. Not that it shouldn't be. I mean, there's nothing against them,
but they just haven't caught on like other ones have.
Yeah, I guess for that reason, people don't see them as favorably as they do. I mean, they're a little weird looking. Their eyes are on top of their head. Like they're cool black and orange. Like if you put those colors on a ball python, everyone would freak out.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a sand boa, so
it's not the same as a ball python.
Yeah,
it's ball python.
Yeah, it's a cool pet to have for sure.
I like your ground boa. I like that. How similar are sand boas in your ground boa?
Not at all. The ground boa is going to be one of the only boa species in that area, as far as most of them are more New World boas, and that's an Old World boa. So it's kind of hard.
They're totally
not. They're totally on like the wrong side of the world, doing the wrong thing to be a boa. So it's hard to say that is a good example of
where do they belong.
Well, like you're talking boa, and then sand boas are in like Kenya and Africa.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay.
And then they're also kind of in the wrong place too. But boa constrictor is going to be something that's in South America and Central America, as well as even in Mexico. I believe there's some boas or boa constrictors, but it's just I feel like they're just way different animals. For just like all pythons aren't, a ball python is going to be much different than a carpet python, because one's in Australia and one's in Africa.
Right.
Like, how could you make that gap as far as keeping goes? I mean, you can see their heads may be somewhat similar and they have heat pits, but that's about it. Keeping is going to be totally different.
Right.
Yeah.
That's very interesting. She said, when I lived in South Africa, I nearly got bitten by a black mamba. Are those around a lot in South Africa?
Yeah, for a good amount.
What?
You definitely don't want to do that. I mean, what you have in like South Africa is African house snakes, which are really cool.
I've never seen those.
Those are like a little colubrid. It's like most of them are like a brownish black with a stripe up the side of the face. I mean, they're really cool, but it's basically like a garter snake to someone in South Africa.
Oh, because us, the garter snakes are nothing.
Yeah, so that's pretty much what it is there. But a black mamba is definitely something different.
What is a SD retic?
I don't even know what that means. I'm very much not into big pythons or big constrictors.
They're not trying to do big things.
Definitely don't know anything about retics.
So
but if you tell me what SD means, I don't know. I might know.
Oh, hold on.
Whether that means like.
Someone asked when your corn snake eggs are going to hatch.
My corn snake's eggs are going to hatch.
You marked it on the calendar, but I don't remember.
This year and next year.
Wow.
I don't know. Probably like 100 days. Probably like 80 days from now, maybe.
Okay, so that is, do that math.
A few months.
A few months
away. Super dwarf. Yeah, that's probably what SD. But yeah,
he did. He said
know.
super dwarf.
I don't know anything about.
I've never heard of a super dwarf retic.
Yeah, there's different. Also, that's kind of a weird distinction. Retics.
That seems very.
Keep. Well, there's different island localities. So, island animals, just like boas, in retics, they're going to be smaller than mainland animals.
Okay.
So your mainland animals are going to be the like 20 footers, that kind of stuff. On certain islands, obviously a certain amount of prey is there, and certain amount of, there's not as many big mammals usually on islands, if any. So so you're gonna have smaller animals,
but like still a small retic. I feel like it's still pretty big.
I mean, you can have a small you can have a retic that stays about 10 feet, which would be a dwarf.
That's still pretty
even like
big
8 feet.
To me.
But it's like having a boa. It would be the same size as a boa, which is much different than having a fucking 22-foot retic, right?
Right. Like, yeah, it's smaller, but still pretty big.
Yeah.
But you are not in the world of retics at all. You keep much smaller animals than that.
Yeah, and that's just because I don't think I can keep the housing requirements.
You got to have a big space.
Yeah, you got to have a big space, and you got to know what you're doing. You got to keep good humidity. You got to just provide a lot of things to them.
But do you know who the biggest person in retics is right now?
Yeah.
Well,
what do you mean? Oh, yeah, but I don't know if I just don't believe in that market. But it's Jay Brewer, but I don't know if he has super dwarfs. I don't know how any of that stuff works. There's so many different mutations, and then they just got opened up, so you're able to bring them over state lines.
Oh, that was
illegal?
Believe
like the market's just picking up again because for a little bit they were banned for shipping between state lines, but now they're.
So is there a big demand for them now that it just became legal again?
I'm sure the market's opening up. There's not a big demand, but it allows more things to happen
to be shipped. But yeah. Okay, what was that name again? Jay
Brewer from Prehistoric Pets.
But I'm not
okay. Yeah, I'm not saying that that's like your best option at all. I don't know anything
about what he has, but he's a big guy in the retics.
Yeah, so I mean, I saw the post by Tom Crutchfield.
I was just about to bring that up
because he was talking about if people keep them in vision cages, like you're keeping them in enclosures, and like that's absolutely ridiculous. Like they're a giant fucking snake.
Is he the only one who keeps his outside like that?
Yeah, I mean, he keeps like carpet pythons and stuff outside too. I don't know if I believe that 100%, like that should happen, but I definitely don't think that retics should be in vision cages and racks.
Right.
You're having a 20-foot snake in a 8-foot vision cage, or I just don't think retics in the wild are like hanging out in caves. They're going in the trees. They're going everywhere, and taking down big prey and moving a good amount. So
then outside seems like the best or the closest to their natural environment.
Yeah, but it's also, where do you live? You have to live in fucking Miami in order to get even close.
Where does Tom live?
He lives in Homestead, which is just south of Miami.
Okay.
Basically as south in Florida as you can get.
So perfect weather for them.
Perfect weather, but that's only going to happen there. I mean, what are you going to do if you live anywhere else?
Right, especially a place, if you live in a city, like obviously you don't have the space to do all that. But sorry, go.
No, I wasn't going to say anything.
I don't remember what I was going to say. I already lost it.
But yeah, I mean, I don't think that there's many good ways to keep a retic. That's just me, and I'm never going to keep one.
Because you just have to truly let them have the space to roam. They're not ones who ball up. They like to move around, and you can tell when you're looking at them how much they like to move around. So just having them go back and forth in that little space. Yeah,
and then you see the one on some, on someone's shit, and you see them, and they're like as thick as like
your leg.
A truck tire, dude. And it's like, retics are pretty lean animals and stay pretty lean because they're so active. And they don't eat. They eat big meals every once in a while when they can catch them. There's opportunistic. So someone's feeding them large meals every week, and you get this fucking thing that's 20 plus feet and
so
500 pounds.
When you see a snake that looks like very, very well fed, do you question the breeder?
Well, I question their motive. I know why that one person does it. It's because they want to get attention, because they want the biggest snake.
Okay, but other people, is that usually people's motives for overfeeding?
Most people who keep retics are responsible, and they don't make them 30 feet.
But do you think most people who keep those, I mean, retics are obviously big snakes, so the people who buy retics are going to want the biggest ones. So wouldn't you think most would want to feed them like that?
No, I mean, you're going to see, I mean, that's just like saying any snake you can make as big as possible. So all it takes is feeding it more often to make it bigger.
Right.
So it's like, you can do that with any animal. It's coming down to the fact is like, do you want this animal to be, first of all, I mean, what's good is that in order for it to be reproductive, you can't have it that fat. Or else
it won't breed anymore.
Yeah, I mean, it may give you 40 shitty eggs. In comparison, if you kept it healthy, you would have 20 perfect healthy eggs. So
Yeah, you might as well keep it smaller.
It cuts down on healthy reproduction at a certain point. So I think that's what favors keeping it a little bit leaner.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's why people, they know that it's obviously healthier for the animal
to be
keep
smaller,
it skinnier. Yeah. So
past a certain point, you're only doing it for selfish reasons.
Right. But yeah, I mean, Hillbilly Herbert said Tom Crutchfield still uses small cages. He said he uses smaller cages, but the fact is that he's using, it may be 8x8, but that's so much better than the 8 foot by 2 foot in a vision cage. So it's like, that's so much more square footage than you're keeping in a rack somewhere. So,
but it's still not like being outside in the wild.
Nothing is. I mean, where do you draw the line? I don't know.
On cages at all for retics.
Or for any animal, where do I draw the line for, corn snakes obviously move a lot more than I give them room for in a tub.
But they also are the size of...
So they're also in relative size to the tub, but I don't know.
So why don't you agree with Tom Crutchfield or completely agree with the carpets outside?
I mean, and they're also an animal that moves around a lot and probably can use more extra space. I just think it's hard to say that South Florida is the same as, anywhere else.
As Australia?
Yeah. So, I mean, they'll definitely survive. They're definitely really hardy animals. So I don't think it's a big deal. I don't think that that's your best option.
The best option you think is cages or racks?
No, man. Who am I to know?
What else does he keep outside?
Everything.
Oh, literally.
Literally any snake that he has, pretty much.
But then he also said he has cages.
Yeah.
But outside, he
has enclosures outside for like iguanas and stuff. This is also someone who smuggled like all the species in the world over here. So, I guess take everything with a grain of salt. But
why do you think those people who keep big retics continue to keep them in vision cages? Like, what is the benefit of keeping a huge snake like that in a vision cage? Like, what are you gaining from that? Like, that's what I don't understand. Like, why there has to be a reason that they're doing it.
Well, you want a retic and you only have certain housing that you can give it. So that's where
they just don't have the space.
Well, and also you say everyone decides, oh, this is what the industry standard is. A 9-foot vision cage is what the industry standard is. So we're going to keep it in this.
Who decides the industry? I can't say that word. Yeah. Industry standard.
No one, just some fucking other guy who keeps snakes. Just some other retard just like us who's like, all the other retards are doing this, so that's what the industry standard is. Yeah,
that's bullshit though.
No, it's absolutely bullshit. That's why people, you can only keep corn snakes in 32 quart tubs.
Because that's the industry.
That's what everyone does. And then I keep them in CB70s, and people are like, you fucking crazy? That's huge. Well, no, that's just because you kept them in small ass fucking tubs before, and I keep them in a little bit bigger. Just because they can stretch out their full body length doesn't mean that I'm fucking crazy.
Like you're hurting, or that you're hurting, or like you're doing anything wrong for a bigger tub.
They're just fucking. That's what I seem reasonable.
Show me with your hands what's the size of the industry standard for corn snakes, because you said
for retics.
No, for corn snakes. You just said what people normally keep it in, but I don't know what that looks like.
So that would be about 3 to. Oh, what the fuck is that? It's really not that fucking big. People know what a Sterlite, I believe, is 32 quart is.
Okay,
it's maybe
that looks like the size of yours.
Like 2 feet.
That looks like
maybe 3 feet by 2 feet, or 2 feet by 18 inches, something like that. But CB70 is what I keep them in, is maybe 2 feet, 18 inches wide, maybe.
Okay.
And then it's much deeper.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So if you see on the rack that I keep some of the juvenile colubrids in, those are the 20 or the 32 quarts. And then when I keep all the carpets, the like smaller jungles, like that kind of thing, and the colubrids in, there's going to be the CB70s, the adults.
Do you keep your carpets in tubs bigger than the industry standard?
No, I keep them about the same as everyone else does.
What about your hognoses?
Yeah, I mean, there's some snakes like ball pythons where it does help you to make something smaller.
Why?
So they'll stop eating if they're in too big of an enclosure. If hognose
Are they
in too
like
big of an enclosure,
intimidated or overwhelmed? Or?
Yeah, hognose just want to be left alone. They want to never be seen. So it's like
opposite of claustrophobia.
Yeah. Well, yeah, they just want to be comfortable, which means giving them a small space to be comfortable in. Like you'll never see a hognose, like for the most part, you'll never see a hognose out in the light of day just hanging out because they're a small snake that can be picked off pretty easily.
Mm-hmm.
A large carpet python's much different. They're going to be out hunting and they're a significant snake, so they can't just be picked off by a fucking bird, by a little bird.
So with snake,
by,
with snake enclosures, bigger is not always better.
Yeah, for some species. And then also you're going to how much humidity. It's easier to keep humidity in a smaller enclosure.
To control it and everything.
Yeah.
That makes sense. But for a retic, you need a bigger. So
yeah. It's kind of, I believe that's like, it's going against both sides to where it's like, maybe I can't keep this because I don't have enough space. And then maybe I can't keep it because I can't keep the proper
environment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So to me, it's too many factors against me to do it.
Unless you have the space for it.
And then you got to buy rabbits too. Fuck that. Ooh. Who wants to buy rabbits?
Are those pros and thought?
Mm-hmm. But they're more expensive. And then also there's a lot more rodent breeders out there that are breeding rats and mice than rabbits.
But aren't rabbits super easy to breed? Don't they like?
That's why
do it all. They do it all fucking time.
Yeah, but I don't think it's as efficient money wise to breed.
Why? If they do it all the time and make 70 babies.
From what it seems, I don't know anything about fucking rabbits, but they mostly breed in the spring.
Okay, so then for the rest of the year,
and also you're gonna need a little bit. You're gonna need more housing than you can just keep rats in a rat rack. You know, it's pretty easy to keep rats and mice.
But rabbits are a whole different story.
Free range.
Can't even put those in your freezer. You put the rats in there.
Yeah, so it's just, I think that's just a size thing.
Yeah.
But I don't want to deal with it.
No. So with retics, you just have to change a whole lot.
Yeah, you got to get your life together. Get some things sorted. Certainly not for me.
What, are there other industry standards besides like tub size? Like, are there other things that the industry says this is how you should do it? I don't know how to phrase my question.
No, I mean, what I'm trying to do right now is just do whatever the fuck I want to,
but you can't say that because other people do whatever the fuck they want, and you shit on them. No. Thank you. People are doing what they want, and you're shitting on them.
That's why I'm saying, like, I respect Tom Crutchfield keeping the things outside. I'm not shitting on that. I think
you're shitting on someone else whose name you're not saying.
Well, yeah, because they're
doing whatever the fuck they want.
They're doing, but you're taking the animal's health out of consideration. Then
it seems healthy that the
fat things that's only healthy in America, where we decided,
But his is eating.
Okay. You want to fatten everything up.
We like our big portions.
Yeah, and you're thinking that every time a snake eats, that's good.
That means it's healthy, right?
Eat.
But that's natural to think, okay, it's eating, okay, it's fine.
Yeah, but that's just not really. Just think about snakes in nature. They're just opportunistic, so they eat whenever they find food. They're sitting there waiting for food to go past them for who knows how long.
But see, that's interesting because not all do that, because some of yours won't eat. Not all continuously, right. Which is weird because they're all in the wild and they all have to hunt for food.
Because obviously we haven't figured out exactly how to keep things. I think that's where we fall short a lot of times on how to actually keep things. I don't know how to do it. It's like some snakes have a full meter and other ones don't. And why is that? If they're all always hunting, in the wild, they're all always hunting for food. Well, why does some stop eating? Think about 75% of them out of a clutch are probably getting picked off right off the bat. They're probably, dying, Damn. Whether from starvation, whether from animals, coming out there and picking them up. Mm-hmm. So we're allowing 100% to survive. So maybe those are the individuals that wouldn't have survived in the wild. Right. He said snakes feel safer when they push their body against something. They are opportunistic. Mm-hmm. So I think, snakes feel more comfortable. Certain snakes usually feel more comfortable when they're in. That's why I put hides and everything.
Right, so they can be on
they can
something.
get away from me. That's pretty much because they don't want anything to do with you. You're a human. They don't want your attention, so you just want to leave them alone as much as possible. I mean, that's what I try to do at least.
Right, and that's why people, have. I think that's why people have the natural cages or the natural enclosures, with all the different stuff in it for them to climb on and touch and all that.
Yeah, but that's not going to make your snake eat. If you have a ball python, that's going to not make it eat. You're not creating a termite mound.
So you think ball pythons should never be kept in natural enclosures?
Unless you create a fucking termite mound. Exactly the at 88 degrees. I don't know. Like, there's just way too many factors.
So you think they should be in tubs only?
Right now, that's our best option.
But it's interesting because I feel
options. We just haven't figured it out. But for now, that's our best option. That's what I'm saying. Like, why don't you try new options? Because there's probably better ways to keep things.
Right. But it's interesting because ball pythons seem like the most pets from right now. And most people who have only one pet, they're not keeping it in a tub. Like, that's just not realistic to expect. It's not realistic to expect someone who has one pet to keep it in a tub. Like, they want to see it. And so it's funny that it just goes completely against what they need or what they want as far as...
Well, I don't know if it's what they need or just that's the best thing we figured out to make them feel comfortable. But we don't understand shit. That's why I think I want to try to do a few different things. Experiment where I can, where it's not. And also be cognizant, because if you're experimenting and you have 1,000 animals and you're not cognizant of what you're doing, then you
fuck a whole lot of shit up.
Fuck a whole lot of shit up. So that's why, like, even incubating a Reptile chip this way around, I can look at those eggs every day, so
and see how they're doing.
Yeah, right. So it's whatever.
So you believe in experimenting, but when you realize it's not right for the animal, stop. Yeah. Some people are experimenting, but not acknowledging
that. But yeah, I think also I don't think surviving means thriving.
Bye Instagram. There's only 2 seconds. Bye Instagram. Oh.
Go on YouTube. But yeah, so I don't think surviving is thriving. So, and what is thriving? I don't know.
So your experimenting is better thriving, trying to find better ways for them to thrive when you're experimenting, or what is your motivation behind your experimenting?
Yeah, find newer ways to maybe fix the quirks.
The quirks? It's not a C, babe. It's a Q. Quirks. There you go.
Yeah, that's what I said.
No, you said quirks.
To fix the quirks that we see, right now in the hobby with a lot of snakes.
Right.
So I just want to try my best, and then everyone else tries their best.
You want to change the industry standards.
Yes and no. I don't give a fuck what the industry's doing, but I want to try to do my best.
The industry is what everyone else is doing. So I think it's always better.
Well, I think that the new people are doing much better than
really
previously been here.
You think the new generation is doing it better?
I would hope so. Everything moves forward, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, you used to see back in the day just so much sketchy shit.
Right, because they didn't know.
Yeah.
Do you think in the last 5 years we have learned so much more about how to keep snakes, or no?
No, but I would say in the last 20 years we have.
That's a big difference.
Can you talk for like 2 minutes?
Can I talk? I don't know. Do you have to pee?
Yeah.
Okay, well, it's an hour anyway, so let's just end it.
I wanted to talk about that, though.
Oh, I feel like we talked about that a little bit last year.
Yeah,
last year,
in the last 20 years, there's certainly been a difference in things that have been going on as far as we're not using red light bulbs. Some people are still, but that's fading.
It's not widespread.
And then heat rock shit like that. I mean, a lot of things, and we're not all having green iguanas, which, are just not a great pet.
Mm-hmm. And we're having crested geckos.
Well, yeah, which it makes sense for the space everyone has and the conditions that everyone can provide and the things that everyone can feed. So I think people are generally making steps in the right direction because people care more about the animals now than we did back in the day, or those animals were wild collected, wild caught, instead of, the whole industry, 30 years ago was all wild caught stuff. Mm-hmm. Now the whole industry, if it's not captive bred, then people are like,
ew. Yeah, I don't want that.
even though that for every species that's not applicable, but for most of them now, everything that's kept as a pet is going to be a captive bred animal.
Because who wants to deal with the possibilities of the wild?
Yeah. So I think that has made such a big impact on the industry, and that's why it's going ahead so much further than, it's, progressing so much further than it was.
Do you think social media has had a huge effect on the industry?
Yeah, I think it's certainly grown. I mean, you certainly get a multiplying of everything. So you definitely get a lot more of the bad and a lot more of the good.
There's both. Mm-hmm.
But the bad seems to, just like all the social media, just like anything that's happening, the bad seems to reverberate much more than the good. And that's just the nature of, they say in marketing, one bad review or like one person's bad opinion of your business
as the weight goes,
they'll tell 8 people. Mm-hmm. One person with a good experience will tell one person.
Right.
So that's like, call it the rule of ACE or some shit.
Okay.
So it's like on social media, you do something bad, 8 people,
you're going to see
instead
it.
Instead of 8 people, it may be 800 people.
Mm-hmm.
And then 100 people might know if you do something good. So I think it's definitely an uphill battle for people who are trying to do the right thing.
But do you think,
and then when the bad thing happens, it gets more press?
Do you think the industry and the snake world would be where it is today without social media?
Yes and no. Like no. I mean, it's open to so many more people, just like everything else in the world.
So no, it wouldn't be.
No, okay. Not at all. And then with selling on Facebook and stuff like that, like it's a whole different world. And then also it's so much easier to get information.
Right.
Which makes, the more informed keepers, which is why what moves the hobby forward also. You don't have, when people post pictures of animals with their light bulb on and stuff like that, people tell them, although it's not always the right way of telling them.
Mm-hmm. They tell them
people
like, that's not how you should do it.
Yeah, mm-hmm. And this is what to do. So I think we're getting a lot more good information out there these days.
Well, we have to thank social media, because without social media, we wouldn't be able to do this.
Yeah, I mean, everything we do is social media and just trying to get to people and talk to people and have fun.
Well, thank you, everyone who watched.
Thank you, everyone, for listening and who are listening in the future. We'll see you next week. That's it.
Okay, bye.
How do I get?